The porcelain plate shattered against the gunman's skull with a crack that echoed through the rain-soaked alley. In 8 seconds, the man in the busboy uniform had transformed from invisible servant to lethal weapon, taking down 3 armed kidnappers with nothing but restaurant silverware and gravel from the wet pavement. Celeste Ashford, CEO of Ashford Energy, stood frozen against the brick wall, rain plastering her designer dress to her trembling frame. Her security team lay unconscious at her feet, blood pooling beneath their still forms. But she barely noticed them. Her eyes were locked on her rescuer, on the precise economical violence of his movements, on the way he checked each attacker with clinical efficiency. Then he looked up and their eyes met, in that single, electric moment. Celeste saw something that made her take an involuntary step back. This wasn't a busboy. Behind those gray eyes lived something far more dangerous. A predator wearing a service uniform like camouflage. But what stopped her heart wasn't the violence she'd witnessed. It was the face itself. She knew that face. She'd seen it in her father's secret files. Files she'd found after his death 5 years ago. Files she'd never understood. "Your security needs medical attention," the man said, his voice flat and controlled. "Tell the police you didn't see who helped. The rain, the confusion, you don't remember. Wait." Celeste started forward, but he was already moving, disappearing into the maze of downtown alleys like smoke dissolving into darkness. By the time sirens wailed in the distance, he was gone, and Celeste Ashford stood in the rain with 3 unconscious attackers, 3 wounded bodyguards, and one burning question that had haunted her for 5 years. Who was the ghost in her father's files, and why had he just saved her life 3 hours earlier? Marcus Thorne had been invisible, exactly as he intended. The September rain hammered Los Angeles like artillery fire, turning the streets outside Leonard's into rivers of reflected neon. Inside the upscale restaurant, Marcus moved between tables with practiced invisibility, clearing plates and refilling water glasses, while the city's elite discussed $1,000,000 deals over $100 steaks. His callous hands, steady as surgical instruments, betrayed nothing of their history. Hands that had once assembled rifles in Afghan darkness, that had pulled wounded brothers from burning Humvees, that now simply stacked dirty dishes with methodical precision. 3 years of this routine had taught him the rhythm of service work. Be efficient, be invisible, be forgettable. It was exactly what he needed. His phone vibrated against his thigh, a text from Mrs. Kowalski, his neighbor. "Ember finished homework, made mac and cheese. She's asking about you again." Marcus's jaw tightened. His 8-year-old daughter was too smart for her own good, already picking up on the weight he carried. He typed back quickly. "Home by 11. Tell her I love her." "She knows," came the reply, "but she needs to hear it from you." He slipped the phone away, guilt gnawing at his chest. Every night he worked was a night stolen from Ember. But the restaurant's evening shifts paid double what day work offered. And God knew they needed every penny. The medical bills from Serena's cancer had drained their savings, even 3 years after her death. The debt collectors still called. "Thorne, VIP section now." Marcus grabbed his bus tray and headed toward the private dining area. Through the frosted glass panels, he could make out a small group finishing their meal. 3 men in dark suits and a woman whose posture alone commanded the room. As he pushed through the divider, his trained eye automatically cataloged the scene. The men were private security, trying too hard to look casual, earpieces poorly concealed, jackets hanging wrong from hidden weapons. Amateurs playing professional. The woman was Celeste Ashford. "Who are you?" "You're not just a waiter. Your security needs medical attention. Tell the police you don't remember me." "Wait, I've seen your face before." "Then forget it for both our sakes," though the tabloids didn't do her justice. Mid-30s. Auburn hair pulled back in a style that cost more than Marcus made in a week. Green eyes that missed nothing. CEO of Ashford Energy, one of the country's fastest-growing clean energy companies. She was arguing with someone on her phone, her voice controlled but tight. I don't care what the board thinks. Richard, the battery technology stays proprietary. No foreign partnerships, no licensing deals. Marcus kept his head down, clearing plates with mechanical efficiency. Just another invisible servant in her world of billions and board meetings. Her security detail barely glanced at him. Critical mistake, he noted, but didn't dwell on. Not his problem anymore. Later, when she stepped into the alley for air, when the attackers came through the shadows, when her bodyguards dropped like dominoes, Marcus had told himself it wasn't his fight. Then she screamed and his body moved before his mind could stop it. The apartment building loomed before him, a tired brick structure that had seen better decades. Marcus climbed the stairs slowly, his hands still trembling from adrenaline, his mind racing through the implications of what he'd done. 3 years of careful anonymity, shattered in 8 seconds of violence. Mrs. Kowalski met him at her door, concern creasing her weathered face. "You're soaked," she said, then lowered her voice. "And you have that look, the one from when you first moved in." "Everything's fine," Marcus lied smoothly. "Just a long shift." She studied him with eyes that had seen revolution in Poland, that had raised 4 children alone after her husband died. But she didn't push. That was why he trusted her with Ember. His daughter lay curled on Mrs. Kowalski's couch, a book clutched to her chest. Her dark hair, Serena's hair, spilled across the cushions, even in sleep. She looked worried, her small face pinched with concerns no 8-year-old should carry. "Hey, princess," Marcus whispered, gathering her into his arms. She stirred, blinking up at him with eyes that were purely his gray and too perceptive. "Daddy, you smell like rain." "Got caught in it. Come on, let's get you to bed." He carried her across the hall to their apartment, 2 bedrooms that felt smaller every month. Ember's room was a careful chaos of books, drawings, and the few toys they could afford. He tucked her in, reaching for Mr. Whiskers, the stuffed rabbit Serena had given her before the cancer got too bad. "Daddy," Ember's voice was small. "Are we going to have to move again?" The question hit like a physical blow. "What makes you ask that? You have your worried face, the same one from before we left Houston and Phoenix." Marcus forced a smile. "No moves planned, princess. I promise." "Good. I like my teacher. And Emma's my friend. She says I can come to her birthday party next month." Each word twisted deeper. A birthday party. Such a normal thing. Yet it might as well be on Mars for all the stability he could offer her. He read until her breathing deepened into sleep, then sat watching her in the dim light from the hallway. Serena would have known what to do. Serena always knew. But Serena was gone, leaving him to navigate parenthood like a minefield, never knowing which to step might cause everything to explode. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Sergeant First Class Marcus Thorne. 4 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, 3 Purple Hearts, medically discharged after an IED killed half your squad. Wife died of cancer 2 years later. You've been moving ever since. Marcus's blood chilled. The voice was female, controlled, familiar. Who is this Celeste Ashford? The woman you saved tonight. And before you hang up, you should know something. A pause. They weren't just after me. They had surveillance photos of your daughter, and I found something else. Something that's haunted me for 5 years. What, your photograph? Sergeant, in my father's secret files. Dated 1 week before he died. Marcus stared at the phone, his mind racing. Edmund Ashford had died 5 years ago, supposedly of a heart attack. Marcus had never met the man, never had any connection to Ashford Energy. So why did a dead billionaire have his picture? "We need to meet," Celeste continued. "Tomorrow, noon. Griffith Observatory. Come alone, and I'll explain everything. The line went dead. Marcus looked at his sleeping daughter, then at the closet where his go-bag was hidden, cash and fake IDs and ammunition for weapons. My father had your photograph classified 5 years ago. I never met your father. Then explain why you saved my life like it was muscle memory. Because I heard you scream, that's all. He no longer officially owned. The ghost he tried to bury was clawing its way back to the surface, and this time there might be no running from it. Griffith Observatory gleamed white against the morning sky, Taus milling around the Einstein statue while Marcus approached from the blind spot he'd identified during his reconnaissance. He spotted Celeste's security first, 2 teams trying to blend with the crowd and failing miserably. She stood openly by the statue, making herself visible, either foolish or trusting her security more than she should. Marcus circled wide, using tourist groups for concealment until he was 3 feet behind her. She spun when he cleared his throat, hand going to her chest. How did you... She looked at her security, none of whom had noticed his approach. Never mind. Up close in daylight, she was more striking than he'd realized. Not beautiful in the classical sense, but compelling with an intensity that commanded attention. Her suit probably cost more than he made in a month, but she wore it like armor. You found me quickly, Marcus said. I have resources. She pulled out a tablet. Your service record, your family history, your movements for the past 3 years. She turned the screen toward him, but more importantly, these surveillance photos filled the screen. Ember at school, Ember in the park, Ember reading in the library, professional shots taken without his knowledge. These were on one of the attacker's phones. Celeste said quietly. The police don't know I have them. Marcus's hands curled into fists, rage and fear wearing in his chest. Someone had been watching his daughter, cataloging her routines, her vulnerabilities. Who? The word came out as a growl. That's what I'm trying to find out. But there's something else. She pulled up another image. An old photograph, clearly from a classified file. Marcus recognized himself. Younger. Standing with his squad in Kandahar. This was in my father's private safe. He died 5 years ago, supposedly of a heart attack. 2 days before he was scheduled to present something called Project Tempest to the Department of Defense. She met his eyes. I never understood why he had your picture until last night when you appeared out of nowhere to save my life. I never met your father. I believe you, but someone connected you to him. Someone who's now targeting both of us. She reached into her purse and Marcus tensed. But she only pulled out a business card. My direct line. When you're ready to admit we're in this together. Call me. Before she could leave. Marcus's phone buzzed. Mrs. Kowalski frantic. Marcus Ember's school called. There was a man asking questions about her. Security stopped him, but he was already running for his car. At the school, he found Ember surrounded by police officers, calm in a way that broke his heart. She'd learned too young how to handle crisis. There was a man, Daddy, she said, hugging him tight. He had a camera, but I didn't talk to him. Good girl. The lead officer approached. Description matches 3 other incidents today, all children of single parents with military backgrounds. Someone's building profiles. Marcus's mind raced. Not just surveillance, recruitment, leverage. But for what? That night, after Ember was asleep, Marcus sat in darkness with Celeste's card in his hand. Through the thin walls, he could hear Mrs. Kowalski's television, the laugh track of some sitcom providing surreal counterpoint to his thoughts. He made the call at midnight. Ground rules, he said without preamble. I don't work for you. We work together. My daughter's safety is non-negotiable. If it comes down to your technology or her life, I choose her every time. Understood. I want everything, every file, every employee record, every piece of correspondence related to your project. Done. And Marcus, I'm sorry. You saved my life, and the reward is getting dragged into my nightmare. Fair died with my wife. All that's left is protecting what matters. The corporate apartment on the 40th floor felt like another world. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city that probably cost millions just to maintain. Neither did I. Marcus stood at the glass, watching the lights below while Amber explored her new temporary home. "It's so high," she whispered. "Is that okay?" She nodded, then turned with that uncanny perception. "The lady you're helping, is she nice?" Before Marcus could answer, Celeste appeared in the doorway. She changed from her CEO armor into jeans and a sweater, looking younger, more vulnerable. "You must be Ember." She crouched to the girl's level. "I'm Celeste. Your dad is helping me with something very important." Ember studied her with those serious gray eyes. "Are you why those men were watching us?" Celeste glanced at Marcus, who nodded slightly. "Yes, and I'm very sorry about that. He has nightmares. You know," Ember said matter-of-factly, "about the people he couldn't save. But he always saves me." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus felt exposed, as if his daughter had peeled back his skin to show the scars beneath. Celeste's eyes met his, understanding passing between them. "Why don't you pick which bedroom you want?" Marcus suggested as Ember explored. Celeste moved closer. "She's remarkable. She's her mother's daughter. Can I ask about her? Your wife Marcus rarely talked about Serena, but something about the shared danger made him open up. We met at Walter Reed. I was recovering from my first Purple Heart. She was a pediatric nurse, said I looked like a lost puppy who'd been kicked too many times." He paused. "She made me promise to keep living, to raise Ember, right? But after she died, I just wanted to disappear. Yet, you couldn't stay hidden, not when someone needed help. Serena used to say I had a hero complex, that I needed to save everyone because I couldn't save myself." He met her eyes. Maybe she was right. Celeste was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled up her sleeve, revealing faint scars on her wrist, old and healed. "After my father died," she said quietly, "I didn't handle it well. My brother killed himself after Fallujah. Then, Dad. I thought maybe that was the only way to stop hurting. But you're still here, because I still owe my father an answer. Who killed him and why they worked through the night." Celeste pulling records while Marcus analyzed patterns. Around midnight. She made coffee and they sat together in comfortable silence. "I found something," Marcus said finally. "Dr. Vincent Mercer, your head of R&D. He accessed classified files 3 days ago, something called Project Tempest. That was my father's secret project. I've never been able to find details. The files were corrupted immediately after Mercer accessed them." Marcus pulled up another screen, and Mercer himself died in a car accident yesterday. Brake lines cut. Celeste went pale. "Vincent was my father's best friend. He was at his bedside when he died." Marcus found another name in the files, one that made his hands stop moving. Colonel Garrett Blackwood, his former commander, the man who'd sent his squad on their final mission. "Blackwood's in here, too. He died 2 years ago. Car accident. That's 3 people connected to Project Tempest. All dead." 4, Marcus corrected grimly. "If we count your father." Before they could discuss further, the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. "That's not a drill," Marcus said, already moving. Through the windows, he saw them. 3 figures in tactical gear rappelling from the roof. Professional equipment, coordinated movement. "Get Ember bathroom now." Celeste grabbed her gun from the safe, a Glock she handled with surprising competence. "My father made me train weekly from age 16. The windows shattered. Marcus engaged the first attacker using furniture as weapons, his injured shoulder screaming. Celeste fired twice. Center mass, dropping the second intruder. The third grabbed her from behind, and Ember appeared in the doorway. Without hesitation, the 8-year-old threw Mr. Kakirahar, whiskers at the attacker's face. The momentary distraction gave Celeste time to twist, to fire. The man went down. "Ko-I con daddy," Ember said, then caught herself switching to English. "She saved me." Mr. Whiskers helped too. Marcus checked the surviving attacker, who laughed through bloody teeth. He sends his regards. "Sergeant?" he says. "Welcome back to the game." "Who?" "The one you thought was dead." Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. But the voice that answered made his blood freeze. "Hello, Sergeant Thorne." "Sergeant? Vincent Mercer, the man who'd supposedly died 2 days ago. I won't explain over the phone," Mercer continued. "Just know this, in 24 hours, the world will change, and your daughter. I hope you can keep her safe. You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do. That's what being a father means. And if you don't come back, then make sure my daughter knows I chose her every time." The line went dead. The cabin emerged from the pine forest like something from another era. A modest A-frame structure that looked abandoned from outside. But Marcus's trained eye caught the reinforced door frames, the subtle cameras, the windows that were likely bulletproof. "My father built this," Celeste explained, punching codes into a hidden panel, a fortress, or a prison, depending on how you look at it. Inside. She pulled up everything they'd gathered: files, communications, financial records that Hawk, Marcus's old squad mate, had hacked from Mercer's servers. "He's not just building one device," Celeste said. "He has 3: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, amplification technology that could create electromagnetic pulses powerful enough to destroy all electronics in a 50 mi radius. Millions would die in the chaos. That's the point. He calls it a reset. Force humanity to start over. Abandon dangerous technology." Marcus found the connection he'd been dreading. "Your father wasn't just developing clean energy. He was building weapons. Project Tempest was a joint operation with military intelligence, specifically with Colonel Blackwood. My father worked with your commander, more than that." Marcus pulled up mission reports. "My squad's final mission in Afghanistan. We were sent to recover a stolen prototype. We walked into an ambush. Half my team died." His voice hardened. "The prototype we were recovering was Project Tempest. Your father and Blackwood sent us there, and when the mission failed, they buried everything, including the men who knew too much." Celeste's face was ashen. "My father got your friends killed." "He got them killed. Then spent the next months monitoring the survivors. That's why he had my picture. He was tracking everyone who might talk. And Mercer. Mercer found out your father was going to sell the technology to the highest bidder, 50 billion. So Mercer killed him, took control of the project, and decided to use it himself. The weight of 5 years of secrets settled between them." "I'm sorry," Celeste whispered, "for what my father did, for all of it. You're not responsible for his choices, but we are responsible for stopping Mercer." Ember appeared in the doorway, holding something in her small hands, a photograph creased and worn. "Mommy gave me this," she said quietly. "She told me to give it to you when you remembered how to be brave." Marcus took the picture, Serena smiling. "Taken weeks before the cancer got too bad," she said. "Not soldier brave," Ember continued, "but person brave, when you fight for something bigger than survival." Marcus pulled his daughter close, tears he'd held back for 3 years finally falling. "Your mother always knew me better than I knew myself." Amber looked up at him with those 2 wise eyes. She knew you'd need someone again someday. I think she liked Celeste. The abandoned mining complex loomed against the night sky, old equipment rusting in the mountain air. Marcus and Celeste approached through forgotten tunnels, Hawk providing support from his mobile command post 30 miles away. "Thermal shows 60+ hostiles," Hawk reported through their earpieces. "And something big in the main chamber. energy readings off the charts. They move through darkness, taking down centuries silently until they reached the central processing chamber. The device dominated the space, crystalline structures surrounding a core that pulsed with unstable light. Technicians monitored readouts while armed guards patrolled the perimeter, and in the center of it all stood Vincent Mercer addressing his followers like a prophet at an altar. In 15 minutes, we initiate the reset. 3 cities will lose everything. No power, no communication, no digital infrastructure. Humanity will be forced to rebuild, to reconsider our relationship with technology. The death toll will be millions, someone called out. The death toll from climate change and resource wars will be billions. We are surgeons cutting out cancer. Yes, the patient bleeds, but they survive. Marcus and Celeste emerged from the shadows. That's quite a speech, Marcus said. For a man who faked his own death, Mercer turned unsurprised. Sergeant Thorne and Edmund's daughter. I wondered when you'd arrive. It's over. Vincent, shut it down. Over. Mercer laughed. It's just beginning. He activated a countdown on the main screen. 10 minutes. Your father wasn't a hero. Celeste. He was going to sell this technology to the highest bidder. $50 billion to foreign interests who would have started World War II. I stopped him. You murdered him. I saved millions of lives just as I'm saving billions now. Mercer gestured at the device. This technology was never meant for clean energy. It was always meant for this, to reset humanity's path before we destroy ourselves, by destroying cities first, by teaching a lesson that can't be ignored. Guards surrounded them. Marcus counted 8 plus Mercer plus the technical staff. Impossible odds. But he'd faced impossible before. There's something you should know, Marcus said. My friend Hawk has been uploading your files to the FBI for the past hour. Every email, every financial transaction, every piece of evidence. Even if you win here, you lose everywhere else. Mercer's face flickered with doubt, then hardened. Then we accelerate the timeline. He reached for the controls and chaos erupted. Marcus engaged the nearest guards while Celeste sprinted for the device's control panel. Gunfire echoed through the chamber. Marcus fought with everything he had, using pipes and equipment as weapons, his shoulder screaming. Mercer raised his gun, aimed at Celeste. Marcus saw it happen in slow motion. The trajectory of the bullet. Celeste's exposed back as she worked frantically at the controls. He threw himself between them. The impact spun him around. Pain exploded through his chest. He went down hard, blood spreading across the concrete floor. Marcus! Celeste screamed, but she didn't stop working. She understood what he'd given her. Time. Through fading vision, Marcus saw her fingers flying across the interface, saw the countdown freeze at 47 seconds, saw the device's glow begin to fade. Mercer lunged for her, but Marcus grabbed his ankle from the floor, using the last of his strength to pull the older man down. Why? Mercer gasped. Why won't you just die? Because I promised my daughter I'd come home. A drone burst through the chamber's ventilation system, Hawk's voice crackling through its speaker. FBI is 2 minutes out. Thought you might need backup. A taser dart caught Mercer in the neck. He convulsed and went still. Celeste dropped to her knees beside Marcus, pressing her hands against his chest wound. Stay with me. Medical's coming. Stay with me. Tell Ember. Tell her yourself. You promised her. You promised. Darkness claimed him. Marcus woke to the steady beep of monitors and the antiseptic smell of a hospital. His chest felt like someone had parked a truck on it, but he was breathing. About time. Ember's voice came from his left. She sat beside his bed. Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest. Celeste said you were too stubborn to die. She was right. How long 3 weeks? The doctor said the bullet missed your heart by 2 centimeters. Celeste appeared in the doorway, exhaustion and relief written across her face. Mercer's in federal custody. Life sentence minimum. The devices were dismantled, and Hawk made sure the whole world knows what he did. Justice served. FBI arrested him in front of his own people. Cameras rolling. Evidence presented. Everyone watching their prophet led away in handcuffs. She smiled grimly. He wanted to reset the world. Now he gets to watch the world forget he ever existed. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the woman who'd become so important so quickly. Ember, can you give us a minute? Daddy's going to tell Celeste he loves her? Ember announced to no one in particular as she left. I'll be in the hallway. Celeste laughed, the first genuine laugh Marcus had heard from her. She's something else. She's her mother's daughter. He reached for Celeste's hand. Serena would want me to be happy. To give Ember a complete family. To stop just surviving and start living. Is that what you want? I want you, whatever that looks like. Whatever comes next. Celeste leaned down and kissed him gently. Then let's find out together. 6 months later, Marcus sat at a corner table in Leonard's, the same restaurant where everything had begun. But this time he wasn't wearing a busboy uniform. This time he sat at the VIP section. Celeste beside him, Ember bouncing in her seat. This is where you saved her. Right. Daddy, right here. And now we're a family. The simple statement carried the weight of everything they'd survived. Mercer's trial, the dismantling of Project Tempest, the slow, difficult process of building trust, of healing wounds, of learning to hope again. Celeste squeezed Marca's hand under the table. I love you. I should have said it sooner. I love you, too. And Serena. He paused, looking at the photograph he still carried in his wallet. She would have approved. Ember pulled out a piece of paper, her expression serious. I've been thinking. Your new organization needs a motto, something people will remember. What do you have? Tomorrow is worth the fight. She looked up at them with those two wise eyes. Mommy used to say that when things were really bad. She'd hold my hand and say, tomorrow is worth the fight. I think she'd want us to remember. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes, Serena's voice echoing through their daughter, reaching across death itself to remind him why he'd kept going. That's perfect, sweetheart. Outside the restaurant windows, Los Angeles sparkled with evening light. Millions of people going about their lives, unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. Marcus watched them, thinking about the choices that had led him here. He'd spent 3 years trying to be invisible, trying to escape the violence of his past. But Serena had known, even dying, that he couldn't hide forever, that some people were meant to stand watch those who couldn't protect themselves. The difference was he didn't have to do it alone anymore. Celeste leaned her head on his shoulder. Ember reached across the table to hold both their hands, completing the circle. You know what I realized, Marcus said quietly. Broken things can be put back together. Sometimes they end up stronger than they were before. Is that what we are? Celeste asked. Broken things. We were. He kissed her forehead. Now we're something new. Ember nodded sagely. That's what Mommy would say. She'd say that the cracks are where the light gets in. Marcus smiled, thinking of Serena, of the legacy she left behind, not just in Ember's wisdom, but in his own stubborn refusal to give up. He'd been a ghost, haunting his own life, afraid to feel, afraid to fight, afraid to hope. But his daughter, his brave, brilliant daughter, had shown him the way back, and Celeste had given him a reason to stay. Tomorrow was worth the fight. Today was worth even more. Epilogue. 1 year later. Marcus stood on the deck of their new home, watching Ember teach Celeste how to throw a baseball in the backyard. The throws were terrible. The laughter was perfect. His phone buzzed. Hawk checking in from the Global Technology Oversight Initiative they'd helped establish, making sure dangerous technologies were developed responsibly, transparently, without the shadows that had nearly destroyed them all. Any problems? Marcus asked. Nothing we can't handle. You enjoying retirement? Marcus watched his daughter tackle Celeste into the grass, both of them giggling. I'm not retired. Just reassigned to what? Being a dad. Being a husband. He smiled as Celeste caught his eye and waved. Being happy. He hung up and walked down to join them, pulling them both into a hug that lasted longer than necessary. What was that for? Celeste asked, just remembering. Remembering what Marcus looked at the two people who'd given his life meaning again. His daughter who'd never stopped believing in him. His wife who'd fought beside him when it mattered most. That tomorrow is worth the fight, he said. But today is worth everything. Ember grinned. Mommy would like that one. Daddy. Yeah, sweetheart. Marcus pulled them both closer. I think she would. Above them. The California sun painted the sky in shades of gold and rose. And somewhere, somehow, Marcus knew Serena was smiling. The ghost had finally come home. The story leaves a profound lesson about responsibility, choice, and the true meaning of life. The man tried to become invisible, not out of cowardice, but because he believed that escaping the past was the only way to protect what remained of his life. But the story reveals an undeniable truth. We can leave the battlefield, but we cannot leave our essence. When faced with injustice and danger, people will still act according to their core values, whether they want to or not. The greatest lesson lies in the shift from survival to living meaningfully. The man didn't fight for honor, money, or recognition. He fought for a child sleeping peacefully in a small room, for a promise to his deceased wife, and for the belief that tomorrow deserves protection. It was his love for his daughter that pulled him out of the darkness of guilt, pain, and avoidance. The father-daughter relationship in the story is not boisterous or melodramatic, but strong enough to make a person ready to confront their greatest fears. The story also emphasizes that the past doesn't define a person, but how we confront it does. The mistakes, secrets, and crimes of the previous generation cannot be erased. But the next generation has the right to choose to end that cycle. The woman in the story represents this choice, not hiding the truth, not continuing to profit from the darkness, but using her power to correct mistakes and protect right values. The companionship between two people who have suffered much loss shows the power of trust and connection when people are no longer fighting alone. Finally, the story reminds us that what has been broken can still be mended, even made stronger. Family is not just built on blood ties, but on the choice to stay, protect, and love each day. When people dare to overcome their fear to protect what they cherish, they not only save others, but also save themselves, and that is the deepest meaning the story conveys.